Welcome. This is Heather Knudsen, HomeSphere's Director of Marketing. I want to welcome each of you to today's webinar that is sponsored by GE. We know today's topic is of interest as we welcome over 400 participants registered for today's event. Our presenter today is Molly Carmichael from John Burns Real Estate Consulting. They are an industry leader in housing research and will be providing an overview on today's kitchen and bath. Remember that you'll have an opportunity to type questions in that will be asked at the end if we have some time permitting. And with that said, Molly, I'd like to turn things over to you to kick off today's presentation.
Hello everyone. As Heather mentioned, this is Molly Carmichael. I work with John Burns Real Estate Consulting. We work on housing trends all over the country, namely consumer research, and we're going to share some of those trends today as it relates to kitchen and bath. I really like to look at what consumers are thinking about today, what's important to them. And then I also really spend a lot of time looking at different projects across the country to understand what's selling, what's doing well. And so we're going to show some of the results of new ideas as it relates to kitchen and bath integrated with some of that consumer research. So let's dive in. Starting out with how some of the consumer research that we do is put together, I thought I'd share a little bit of backdrop on that, and then a little bit about the consumers that are out there shopping today. But as I mentioned, we do a lot of trend analysis, market research, trying to understand what's happening historically. We do a lot of forecasting as well, but one of the things that I find to be pretty essential to the research that we do is understanding how consumers are thinking today. So we've done about 3 surveys. We do this annually, and we collect anywhere from 10 to 20,000 responses. And with the help of our home builders, they will launch out to new home shoppers. And we also partnered with Zillow this year and launched to shoppers looking at resale as well to understand for the next home that they purchase, so it's a focus forward study, for the next home that they purchase, what's important to them? What's motivating them to purchase? What do they want in a new home? What are the things that they're willing to pay for, too, as important? The market's really seen a lot of ups and downs in the last 10 years, and we believe that a fluctuating market really gives little room for error. And so really starting first with the consumer is a great way to start. Our most recent survey closed at the end of September of this last year. We had close to 20,000 responses on the new home side, and on the resale side we saw another 2,000 responses. We have a combination of over 40,000 responses between the last 3 surveys we've done. There's over 100 questions. There are several hundred variables. And as you can see by the slide in the upper right-hand corner, or the map in the upper right-hand corner, we hit just about every major new home MSA across the country with quite a few responses. We have a nice balanced response as it relates to the population out there. And we do it via email. So as I mentioned, we partnered with several builders to actually launch this to their list. And we have a very, very healthy sample size. So some of the things we covered, again, consumer attitudes, how they live, how they shop, the things that they value. We studied interior preferences, exterior styles, specifications, and we're going to talk a lot about kitchen and bath today, texture, color, kitchen and bath, of course, private outdoor living, great spaces, great rooms, dining, formal, and so forth. And then, of course, technology and green technology. Let's start first with who's shopping out there so you can understand how the sample is put together and some of the responses. Looking at this nationally, it's really interesting, and we've been seeing this shift for the last several years, but 53% of your new home shoppers today are without children. We only have 30% of our shoppers that actually have families with children under 18. And as you'll actually see here, I call it, it's the plus section, the mature family plus. Mature plus family is families that have an 18-year-old or older, and then multi-generational households are those that have more than one family living together. So we have about 8% of that sort of plus family group as well. So it's really interesting to see. We have really more consumers out there shopping today with pets and children, but it's an interesting variety out there. Looking at it by generations, everybody always likes to talk about the generations, so I always include this in there. And I've compared it actually to the population, so you can see the sample's pretty healthy and right on with what's going on. Nationally, our survey response was higher for the baby boomers, so that's years 1946 to 1964. In comparison to the population, there's about 37% of the population as of 2012. In 2017, that dropped slightly to 32%. And you'll see for Gen X, that really is your second biggest consumer out there shopping today. So there's 32% of Gen X in comparison to today's population of 30%. And then Gen Y, they're climbing up there. They've been pretty absent the last couple of years, but there's 15% of Gen Y nationally in comparison to the population of 17%. And in 2017, that number continues to grow. And we focus on Gen Y as the 25-plus shoppers out there, and that's why that population will continue to grow. And we really focus on 25-plus because that's really the age where we start to see consumers moving over from either renter or moving out from parents and moving on to home ownership. Another interesting group, and definitely a group that you want to get ready for, we're seeing a lot of housing start to accommodate this and shift to this, and I think for good reason, and that really is the multi-generational groups. While we have 3% of the total households out there accommodating multi-generational today, we've asked in the last several surveys, how likely are you to accommodate these different groups in your next home? And starting just with elderly parents, we're all now living, it's a good thing, 20 years longer. And so with that comes, new solutions for housing as we see our parents grow older and our kids are getting older, and and affordability still becomes an issue. So there's different kinds of solutions today for housing that you should be thinking about, developers should be thinking about, and certainly our consumers are thinking about. So 39% of the population out there is considering accommodating their elderly parent. 35% are considering accommodating 18 plus. Another 17% are considering either a brother or a sister, and so on. So anywhere from 10% to 39% are considering another family member outside of either themselves or their nuclear family. Another interesting stat, and we shared this on the last webinar that we did, but it's really interesting to look at why Gen Y continues to be a smaller percentage, albeit pretty close to that total population, but still smaller. But Gen Y really is moving slower to home ownership than their parents did and Gen X did, and it's largely because of marriage. So if you look at the population of the 18 to 32-year-olds in 1981, the most common response I get from anecdotal discussions about Gen Y is, well, they're all still living at home with their parents. In comparison to 1981, 31% lived at home with their parents, and 36% in 2012 reportedly actually lived with their parents. So that's really only about a 5% difference. But the biggest difference that we see here really is in this married section, and that really triggers home ownership. As anybody who's been doing this for a while certainly understands the fact that life stage changes really shift the cycles of home ownership. So when I get married, that oftentimes can trigger the first home purchase. When I have my first child, second child, children grow, children move out, things like that, all those things are really triggering home ownership. And in this particular case, we're seeing a much slower, a failure to launch. There's a great movie on that. They're not getting married, and so that is slowing them down out there in the home ownership world. So let's look at buyer motivation. I wanted to start with this because you're going to see a lot that triggers both a quantitative and qualitative thought process. And this is really how we look at consumer research and all the trends that we're looking at. We definitely believe it's an art and a science. Consumers really start, and they use their brain in 3 different ways, and that's really, there's rational motivation, there's emotional motivation, and then of course your core motivation. Rational motivation is all the some of the statistics that we'll talk about that we all fully understand. What percentage want X, Y, Z, what percentage are driven by price versus location. Emotional motivation is driven by design. They'll talk a lot about, wow, that really feels good, or that really looks good. That's something that really is important to me. And then core motivation is really the combination of all of that and things intuitively that they might not be able to describe, but it just feels right. And I can't tell you why, but it really feels right. And some of those factors are those are built on belief systems, you know, environmental things, and that's really some of those things are where loyalty and trust are built. And we're going to talk about all of those as it relates to both the numbers and then just the art of kitchen and bath. So how do they shop? From a buyer motivation standpoint, and this really takes into account, as we talked about here, the core as well as the rational. But the core starts with, do I have enough money to spend to actually purchase a home? Then they drive down certain highways based on life stage. So do I have children or don't I have children? And that really determines how far they go down on those highways, because they need room for bikes and trikes and things like that. And then the third one, which I think is really important for today's discussion, is home design and layout. And that's largely driven as well by life stage. You know, do I need rooms for my children and things like that? Do I need a bigger kitchen, a smaller kitchen? And then as, if you look down here on the left-hand side, all of these are really built on affluence. So the more affluence I have, the more I can put schools as my #1 motivator, the more I can put community amenities as my #1 motivator, and so forth. But the one that's the most important for the builder world out there, and even in my opinion, the developer world out there, that they can control the most really is home design and layout. And so we're going to talk about some of those influences as it relates to design trends and things like that that could influence how you look at kitchen and how you look at bath. So from the very bottom, going back to my prior slide, price and location, those are all very needs-driven. Those are all very rational things that I can talk through. But as I get to more of the esoteric things, or the things that I may not be able to describe to you why they're so important to me, those are really privileged desires, and that really aligns more with style and green technology and all those things that we really believe in and we want to be a part of, but it does take you know, a certain budget to do that. The most important factor is motivating consumers today to buy nationally. So this ties back to the slide that I just showed you. These are the real numbers. So this takes a blend of the price points that are out there, and today location is the #1 factor. Location continues to be the #1 factor. So the whole, you know, people will say location, location, location. That certainly continues to be the case, good times or in bad. The thing that really has shifted, though, in the last 3 years is price has been less of an influence for the last several years because it's really been very affordable. And so for the very first time in the last 3 years, price has moved to #2, putting more pressure on #3, which is home design. So because it is becoming less affordable and prices did go up and we're seeing a little bit of a shift in interest rates and things like that, consumers still very much care about home design. That's been #2 for the last couple of years. That drops to #3 just given the pressure on pricing. And then some of the more important things that continue to align with what we just talked about: safety, community street appeal, education, accessibility, and so forth. As we look at what's prompting them to actually come to a builder sales office or coming out to your community, what's really prompting them to be there? The #1 factor is home design. So the more you can understand about what your consumers want, not just in kitchen and bath, those are huge components, but really what they want in home will really help you to be more successful and drive the highest price as well. As we look to current home satisfaction, I think this is a tremendous opportunity, but it also requires that you really get your homework done. So as we look to with their current home satisfaction of all the consumers out there shopping, and we sent emails out to over 1 million people, 24% are dissatisfied. So we only really have, outside of the 1% that's going to remodel, 24% that are like, I'm absolutely going to go buy a home. I've got to find something else. But the opportunity really is 78% will move for the right opportunity. So if you really, you know, if we can get behind our minds and really trigger those emotions and channel into that, the core as well as the rational and some of the emotional, I really think that's the opportunity. So let's look at some of the design and style factors as well. So we ask consumers, and you'll see this on the next page, several different styles to choose from. What style are they looking for? And I believe this influences not only kitchen and bath design, I think it influences your marketing programs, your brochure design, how you talk to consumers. it was really interesting that the top style almost in every MSA was the style on the left, modern traditional. And that's largely driven by some of the questions we've asked in our past consumer insights. Consumers really want the details. They want the extra, the coffered ceilings, the crown molding. But this is also very clean lines, natural colors, very in style. It's not quite traditional, but it's not really super modern either. And I do a lot of qualitative research, and I hear that oftentimes, well, I'm not really modern and I'm not really traditional. It's really kind of a modern traditional or contemporary traditional. And it did not surprise me at all that this came out as the #1. #2 is casual organic. And this middle slide, we've done some qualitative since this as well. This is a lot about the light coming into the space. Consumers want light. They want windows. It's also about the natural texture in sort of just the detailing that sits around those windows. You're going to see a lot of the trends in what's out there today and what consumers really gravitate to are natural materials, natural textures, and things like that. And then the one to the far right is tried and true. We tend to find that particularly with some of our older profiles, and it tends to go more East Coast versus West Coast, that have a slightly higher preference to traditional. I don't see huge swings to modern or contemporary on the West Coast or for the younger profile. It just is a slightly higher percentage on the West Coast and with that younger profile. And you'll see that actually coming up. But just that very traditional, what we all associate with home and what that looks like to them, this one also came up to be very popular. So one of the questions we asked, because I'm constantly seeing the trend moving for contemporary and modern over the last several years that we've been doing this, we're still seeing as we ask them, are you traditional or modern on a scale of this 1 to 5, as you can see here. And the largest percentage are still picking or swinging more to that traditional side. So about 33% say somewhat traditional, 19% are saying traditional, 15% took middle of the road. That always happens. And then still a pretty nice percentage are saying somewhat modern, but only 12% are really saying ultra modern. When you look at all of the styles that we actually gave them to choose from, you can see things like cottage and style on a budget, ultra modern we certainly showed them. We did some tropical for Florida, and then just a really sort of clean, minimalistic and art deco and so forth. You can see how those actually blend in, and then you can also see their percentages. So as we get to some of the more modern, casual, contemporary, and things like that, you can see some of those scores nationally. I will say this is a great trend to understand at the local level or the MSA level, and also by age groups and price point. So it really kind of helps you as you look at different markets, and we certainly can provide that. The other, the last trend that I wanted to share with you before we dive into the actual results on kitchen and bath is just their attitude and what they're thinking about today. And I thought I would just hit on the top 5 that, again, I think influence how you design kitchen and bath, as well as community and home. And the first one is they want quality, not quantity. So even though 42% today will say they want a larger home, they're really looking for quality, not quantity. And if you can give them form versus function, they'll take that all day long before taking more square footage. They're practical. I mean, that was number 2. I do what I need to do, and they're pretty practical about their decisions, kind of tying back to more of that sort of rational side to themselves. This was one of my favorite trends, which is they want to disconnect when they come home, not connect. Now, we still have 41% that say, look, I do want to connect 24/7 online, and I'm not suggesting anyone take out wireless. But this is a huge trend for things like the master bath feeling more like a spa, really having that sort of indoor-outdoor kinship in the floor plan design, all those things that I think are so critical and really pushing, whether you're in the Midwest or East Coast or Southwest, a strong desire to connect to the outdoor spaces and just chill spaces, as I would call them. Health and knowledge. I can't underscore how much I'm seeing this come up in product design, whether it's in car design, home design, community design, just the emphasis on health and knowledge. We have, we test over 70 different amenities that consumers are looking for, and one of the big factors they asked for was trail systems and trails that teach, trails that have little historical markers that will teach you along the way. That's a nice combination of health and knowledge. But there's also some really neat things that you can combine for the kitchen that combine health and knowledge and frankly save time and things like that. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And then just enhance their experiences. I mean, really, how are ways that you can engage their senses? Kitchen and bath are such great spaces in the home to really engage their senses, and there's some neat images that I'll share with you on that. The last one is, and certainly kitchen is a huge one for this one, and bath helps to alleviate some of the stress from the day and things like that, but solve to make their lives easier. How can you actually make it more functional, enhance the experience? Kitchen is so all about engaging with your family or your friends or your loved ones, and how do you enhance that experience? And this is a great example of just simply, green technology, how it helps you save money and all the great features that are out there. But even this other app on the left, just, there's so many great concierge programs online and all of those things that just make your life easier. So how do you engage that with community and home today? So the top commodity, I believe today is time. I wanted to share a video, and I hope it comes off okay with you on a new product that's coming out. I bet a lot of you have heard about it, and that is Google Glass. And it was interesting to me on what they've done to really enhance time. It just so happens it's in the kitchen. But you'll see, how do you apply this to what's going on in home design as it relates to, and this is probably more kitchen than anything, but just all together how we think about our business and how we can be better. And let me know if I have any sound issues here. And I'm not getting sound. Okay, so I'm gonna just try this one more time and see if this works, and if not, we'll. Okay, so I'm going to encourage everybody to go to google.com Glass and start and watch this video. It's a great video on sort of the next step in technology and how you really can apply this to not just saving time, but think about how you can apply this to home design. And really all it takes is thought. It doesn't really take any additional cost, but there are some really neat things you can do to continue to enhance the experience at home with some of the technology that's coming out. So let's look at gourmet kitchens. This was a kitchen I took a picture of, and this was a good example, in my opinion, of, wow, that's a tough kitchen. Tell me, I mean, this, in my opinion, can really impact price and certainly could impact pace. And so how do we make this better? What are better things out there? And it was a nice attempt to give sort of an affordable approach, but I would tell you this isn't just design. This is merchandising. This is color, that there's a lot of things that aren't working in this kitchen. So 41% actually today do want a great room. 59% want a great room and one more additional space. So what that means is they want a great room, but they still want the formal dining room. A lot of consumers today really want to have still their holiday dinners where they can expand out to 10 or 12 people, and they want the ability to expand, not close it down. But they want that formal space in addition to this fantastic great room. This is a terrific great room that has a nice marriage between the two spaces. It's merchandised very well. It has a nice relationship to this outdoor space. Very nice. The other thing I wanted to underscore too is that only 41% said they wanted a great room only, and they didn't want a formal dining room, or they didn't want a living in formal dining room. So don't forget that formal layout as well. 24% still want a formal living room and a formal dining room. And what I have found is that's really a privileged buyer. The buyer that can afford the highest price points, they tend to be more likely to still want those formal spaces. So don't forget to include one of those plans. I see so much converting to all great room spaces, and those are fantastic. But I would include one plan in your mix that accommodates this other 24%. This is a great kitchen, and we hear a lot of feedback on this, which is I want the prep island, and then I also want the entertainment island. So this is a great sort of double island kitchen, nice lighting, a nice buffet here that sits on the left, appliances sitting here very conveniently in the back where you're doing more of that preparation and some of that. And And if I look at the preference for kitchen countertop preferences, granite comes in at #1, and they're willing to pay for it. They'll pay another $2,500. And we're seeing a lot of that as being very popular and out in the models today. Silestone is 18%. Silestone is actually very attractive to consumers. They aren't as willing to pay more for it, though. Same thing as you look at Corian, that's less preferred but more popular with the older profile, with some of your older segments, and then it starts to drop from there. As we look to kitchen countertop color, the lighter colors are the most popular and preferred. So light natural cream was 32%. Warm beiges are 28%. And as we get to the darker colors, it really starts to fall off as we get to the dark chocolate, black, greens, and blues. Again, this can be somewhat different by geography, but these are the national numbers. This is a fantastic kitchen. Really a super island. Tell me this would not be fantastic for entertainment. I'm not certain somebody would live with all these chairs sitting around the island, but this is certainly a super island, and it's the #1 feature. 84% of your consumers really want that large entertainment island. I had some friends over the other night, and I couldn't get people to stop hanging around the island. I'm like, come sit in the living room. Let's go hang out here. But no, of course, they hung around the island. And certainly I'm sure food was part of that, but there's just a natural tendency to just hang out around the island. So it's really big for, again, friends and family gatherings. The walk-in pantry, there's some great walk-in pantries I'd like to show you. High-tech appliances, huge, getting the right appliances, and that really can vary by price point. And what do you include and where do you spend your money there? And then going all the way down to even wine storage space. Again, those really fall into the more privileged price points and consumer groups. As we look to appliance preference, you're going to see here Whirlpool and GE actually rank at the top. They are the most popular amongst many of the regions across the country. And then it really drops off as we get down to the Sub-Zeros, the Vikings, and the Wolves, and the Thermadors, although those become much more popular on the highest price points. Fisher-Paykel and DCS, I mean, there's some really neat appliances out there as well. As we look to what they're looking for in an appliance and how you should market your appliances, because kitchen is #1 for consumers today, so really selling that appliance and what they're offering. Quality and durability ranks above even the appearance and style. So they want to know, that's why so many consumers really like that sort of restaurant quality or look of the ovens. It just, they look like they're durable and they look like quality. Function certainly is important. It has to fit. All those things are super important. And really all of the features came out very high, but at #1 it's that quality and durability. As we look to other kitchen styles out here, you can see, again, a terrific island, appliances off the back, a nice walk-in kitchen. Cabinet colors, which cabinet colors are most popular out there? The dark cabinet color is still the #1. It's been the top favorite for the last 3 years. And it typically is the top favorite amongst most areas across the country. I know a lot of builders and developers will do the white cabinet because it's very flexible and it works with many of many different styles and so forth. That does drop down to #3. But that dark chocolate tends to be a nice, it actually works with almost all colors, quite frankly. And that remains #1, and they will pay for it. Those numbers do drop for the lower price points, and we do start to see them going back to some of the more traditional, where we aren't really asking them to pay anything for, some of these other ones down here. Another great, nice big kitchen. This is nice because the nook is actually defined here off the back, which helps, but also having the light dropping into that kitchen, I think really makes a difference. Going back to the consumer preferences where consumers really were drawn to not just the modern traditional, which this certainly reflects that, but also that more organic side where the light is sort of flooding into that space. This certainly represents that as well. Another great kitchen, definitely on the smaller side, but they really made this function well. You'll see double ovens are certainly popular. I think it's about 64% actually want double ovens, and we'll come back to that. But that also sort of the light creamy countertop, and just the variation in color. So you can do white off the back and having the Java there sitting in the center as well. I love this one. Not only does it have great light in it, as we've talked about, but it also has a different cabinet color and a new style that we're seeing quite a bit of. Gray is really popular right now. But again, doing a little bit of a different countertop here with sort of the white flat mat and the granite sitting there off the back with white tile off the back. And just this little pop in cabinetry up here just adds that little extra touch. That really makes a difference. And then leaving the buffet in all the way here without spending the money on all the cabinets on top. This makes for a really good-looking kitchen. They also did one other very nice feature and just popped out the range here as well. And the granite just sort of pops out a little bit. As opposed to having that appliance kind of sitting out there, it was really a nice finished detail. Here's another view of that very same kitchen looking in from the other direction. This is another kitchen where we'll start to see some of these kitchens really embracing that indoor-outdoor relationship. Consumers will share with us a lot about not just having that great outdoor space, but really being able to take food from a hard surface area out to a hard surface area without sort of climbing over a family room or any of that stuff. So making those large, big open spaces connected to the kitchen are certainly preferred. Let's look at some other special features that apply to kitchen or some other areas that would be worth considering as well. This is a fantastic kitchen. Brookfield did this actually here on the West Coast, where they did this big sliding glass door, and talk about ultra kitchen. So they have this fantastic kitchen here. The chairs off the island really work like a breakfast nook or a breakfast bar to some degree. And then this completely opens up, and then a whole nother kitchen happens out here. Now for this particular community, this was a higher price community. About 80% of the consumers who saw this plan took that kitchen option on the outside. So it really expanded this home to live straight out to the outdoors, and that dining room experience happens here. What you can't see in this home is the dining room really is sitting over here. So they do have a formal dining room with, or it's really a great room, with this space as well. But the dining room, I think everybody unanimously would really like to be spending their time, is this great outdoor space. And this is relatively a small outdoor space for the most part, but boy, does this live well. And this was a super popular plan. This builder raised prices probably faster than anybody I've seen in the last year since this last drop in the market. So this was a fantastic way where a design feature really made a difference in not just home price, but lifestyle and engaging the senses, and a great experience for this customer once they move in. So primary entertainment space that consumers want today. The number one place that people entertain really is that family great room space, followed by kitchen. So you can see why this would do so well for the consumer and really add dollars to the bottom line. It's where they spend their time. The next place outside of family great room and kitchen is that outdoor space. So they simply combined all three and made for a terrific plan. This is really sitting outside looking into that kitchen from that dining room, and you can see even just having this great little, they have a little refrigerator out there, a little sink, and so forth. Another home that really connects to that outdoor space, they're a much more modern design for sure, but just adding some different textures here, same countertop material, and then a great texture off the back wall. This is another home that recently opened, again, sort of taking off on that experience. But even just this interesting sort of sink detail, this is where they did a darker countertop material here versus a lighter countertop material off the back. Changing the cabinet color certainly is a terrific look here as well. This is looking from the outside in, again, seeing how those spaces really engage together and make for a great lifestyle. This is another home, and believe it or not, this is a more affordable price point for an upper end market, at least within this community. And what I really liked about this and what I was showing about this is oftentimes we do the great room and the nook is sitting out there completely exposed. But in this particular case, and what I've seen with a lot of consumers is they use that nook as a homework space. It's a multi-function space. I mean, it really is the office / nook / kids hangout. And they defined this space, gave it its own little access to the outdoors, and this is that space on the inside. So it's where they can still have breakfast and do all those things, get their homework done. But I thought it was a great combination of nook, office, almost like a kid's play area or bonus space that still looked terrific too. And that's really looking from the outside into that space. I thought it was a great feature and still using about the same space that you would have used for a nook, albeit defined. This was a feature in an active adult community here on the West Coast, and what I really liked about this, and we hear this often when we're doing our qualitative research, is not only do they want a dining room, but they want a dining room where they can seat 12 people. So this gives them the opportunity to expand that table right into that space. It also makes for a great little entertainment space. They've got a nice area here that sets up as a bar. They've got you know, a table that works fine when they aren't entertaining big, but they also have a great little sort of seating area here too that all works together. But it really shows how this can live in you know, your party experiences as well as your everyday. I thought that was just a terrific feature that I haven't seen a lot of. This was a very affordable community actually in Northern California. And what I really liked about this is we all have these, you know, 10-foot side yards or 5 and 5-foot side yards that you don't know what the heck to do with, and you're working with tighter densities in some of these more metropolitan areas. And in this particular case, they made it work for them. So as you're sitting in this little nook experience here and you look out the sliding glass door, they took that 10 feet and they actually used it for a really cute outdoor space. So you can actually see as you pull out, they just screened it with a cute little piece of ironwork through, you know, you could see, you know, potting plants out there. It could be a great little place to set up a bar when you're entertaining, all those things. It was really a great way to use that side yard space off the kitchen and off the nook. Wet bars. I'm seeing wet bars more often now, in particular as we're seeing that more non-family buyer out there and we're aging. I typically will see these a lot in active adult communities and things like that, but I'm seeing a comeback with the wet bar, and I thought this was a nice look, and this was another version that was maybe a little bit more modest and tucked in. It works like a wet bar, and it certainly could work as a pantry as well. But that might be a great space to be thinking about, and we're definitely testing that in our research as well. This was what I would call another version of whether you're doing living room or you're doing dining room. This was a great option they used as opposed to you could either have a coat closet or this wine pantry where you actually went in, and this is all glass right here, and then on the side you can access this. But it was a great showpiece for the wine connoisseur out there that really loves their wine. They want to showcase it off of that space. It was really a kind of a fun merchandising and a neat way to show if you are a wine connoisseur and really into that. It was a great space. Here's a closer-up view of that space. Different sink applications we're seeing a lot of. Again, sort of tying on that organic, really great natural materials in the kitchen. It looks terrific with the stone on the wall, the natural countertop material. But just the old-fashioned sink here. The clean single sink, this is also very popular with the single basin. Different sink accessories, I mean, this is all included. These little extra special touches, those are the things that are really going to set you apart from your competition. This was an interesting, just simple vegetable sink. It allows for great use on the island, certainly preparation and cooking opportunities as well, but a nice use for a vegetable sink. And I love this. You know, I'm definitely a coffee person and all those things, but I don't know why you couldn't do this, whether it is high density, 900 square feet or 4,000 luxury square feet, just to put, you know, the thoughtful sort of cappuccino maker in there, you know, whether you can do the double ovens or any of that, but that one little appliance I think could make a difference and make people sort of go, wow, that was a really nice touch. I definitely want to buy there versus buy over here. Prep kitchens are becoming very, very popular, particularly on the luxury side. So these are small little kitchens. Instead of a butler's pantry, you'll see there on both sides this is a sink, and then on the right side we have a little walk kitchen there. But it's another application to those butler's pantries for those that really want the prep kitchen off the kitchen. Here's another prep kitchen, very well done. This literally is either a pantry or this tiny little space had a great little application, and this was included. So this was something Brookville did. They called it Smartly Designed Prep Kitchen. I loved the marketing on this. I loved the fact that it was included. And this was another piece or element of that one home that I showed you that was just a wow and really drove great results to their bottom line. Pantries are big, and I would say every home, no matter the size, if you can figure out a way to do a walk-in pantry, I would do it and show it well. Don't just put in a couple of shelves in there, but really show the opportunity for storage and show the storage. This was a great thing that Toll Brothers actually did. It was a great way to just show, I mean, how many people have gadgets hanging off of pieces of furniture throughout their kitchen or in their family room that are falling off of cords. They built in a cabinet specifically for this and showcased it, and you know, what a terrific solution to all those things we were talking about at the beginning of this presentation. Laundry rooms. Boy, do people get excited about big laundry rooms and functional laundry rooms. Remember, these people have more pets than children, so showing that and accommodating a great space for where the, you know, where the puppy can sleep at night or dog can sleep at night if they aren't sleeping a bedside to or things like that. But certainly these big, great laundry spaces are super popular. Another great laundry functional where they showed, you know, how to, you know, with the bar for hanging clothes and things like that. All of these things super popular. I loved this laundry room because to me this makes so much sense to have it right off the master closet. I wouldn't want to hear it, so the bedroom was actually over on the other side. But the connectivity to master bedroom was so smart in this particular case. Multi-gen, just a few things on multi-gen. And we are certainly seeing a lot of that pop up as we talked about. There's quite a few people out there that are thinking about accommodating you know, their parents or additional kids and so forth. And one of the things that we found was there's a huge percentage, 29 to 30%, want the locked off suite or detached cabana. And that was pretty big. 29% would prefer it to be locked off but attached to the home. 28% would like it detached. But don't forget the big bonus room either. Still, that's the #1 over the locked off suite or detached casitas. 46% still want just the traditional big bonus room with pool table and so forth. Great multi-gen space, again, done by Brookfield. This was a nice way to make it charming and attractive, as well as you know, having that additional suite. Here's a more practical approach where you just do the simple, you know, kitchen connected to that, but there's, you know, certainly different looks for different buyer profiles. Here's another great space. I liked this by Lennar. They actually did a cute little outdoor space. Given how important those outdoor spaces are, I felt that was pretty interesting that they accommodated that private outdoor space as well. That was a great, great answer to that. Let's look at bath. How do we help them disconnect from all the stresses of every day, really engage those senses and make it an exciting space? I think the entry to that bathroom, if you're spending the money and doing all the bells and whistles that typically happen in master bath, to frame that right certainly is a great start. And this was a great start to a beautiful bathroom. 65% still want the bathtub in their master, so don't lose the tub. And I can't tell you how many discussions I've had on frame walks and things like that where they're like, nobody takes a bath anymore. Just take the bath. We'll just do a big shower. They definitely want big showers. And so how to accommodate that space? This is a shower sitting behind this, so it's a nice solution to set that bathtub here with the shower behind it without taking up tons of space. But figuring out how to still make bath sexy and get those great showers is a great solution. Gen Y and Gen X are particularly sold on the tub. It does drop for retirees, but not completely. 53% still of retirees want the bathtub. So some different solutions to bathtubs. You know, I've seen a lot from Shea Homes. They've done quite a bit on sort of changing up the bathroom, the master bath. They had one community where they offered, I think, 5 or 6 different bathtub options. And they did not sell the conventional bathtub. They were more likely to sell the unconventional bathtub as the option. But the key was showing them. So they did some really unique and different features. You know, this is the more traditional bathtub, and I'm not saying this looks bad, but I will tell you this is probably the most common bathtub configuration that I have consumers complain about. They don't like it in the middle of the room. They trip over it. And in this particular case, it's so big, it's actually bigger than the edge of this countertop. It's just oversized for the space, really. So if you're going to do that, at least pull it back and make sure that the space can accommodate it. But really, it's not the preferred bathroom configuration today. This is another one. You know, it's a simple, easy solution. Consumers hate this connection here to the cabinet and things like that. You know, the bathtubs, you know, you're kind of climbing in around the cabinets and things like that. But this is a different kind of solution where the tub, again, same space where you have the tub here and you've got the shower just sitting behind it. But look at this great, instead of the cabinet being here and climbing in and around, you gave that space and really sort of sexy look to a great bathroom. This is another way to do that same look. It turned to the side. I still have this awkward little space sitting right here, but again, a great big shower with the bathtub sitting in front. Another application of a very similar process. We're seeing a lot more of sort of the traditional tubs. I see this a lot on the East Coast. We're seeing a lot of this popping up here on the West Coast as well. But this is a much smaller tub. You aren't paying for the deck and tile and all those kinds of things. These tubs usually range in the $2,500 to $3,500 range. But it's really a great look, and it makes a great space feel even better. This is another approach on the traditional. I do like the slightly more modern traditional look to this look, but this is certainly another way to approach it. This is that tub kind of coming out in the center. Beautiful, natural materials. It really feels good. It feels very spa-like for sure. It really has a nice feel to it. Even showing things like, you know, again, that big, huge shower, but even the massage experience. Again, these are great sort of connecting to the senses kind of things. Natural materials. You have the stone on the wall. You have the light sort of flooding through. Great natural countertops and things like that on the top. Beautiful tub sitting in the middle. Another great tub experience. Another great tub. This one is something I'll be interested to see if this comes back. This was really popular way back when, but really that sort of fireplace between the bathtub and the master. Well, now we have all these terrific new fireplace solutions that aren't quite as difficult as some of the prior fireplace solutions. So this is a two-way fireplace. One side goes to the master, one side goes to the bathtub. I think given some of those new appliances, I think we could start to see some of these kinds of trends coming back as well. This is just a great bathroom that feels good, a super different experience. Again, a nice, memorable moment that keeps you separate from the competition. Here are some great showers that just, I think, are terrific. Bathtub, great experience there. You still have you don't lose the bathtub experience, lots of light flooding in. But nice, nice showers. This one I thought what was just super bright about this, the big showers that you've seen in several of the other ones. But when you walk into the wet area, this is where you typically dry off. Usually this knob to turn the shower on is way over here, and you spray yourself before you turn the shower on. This is so smart. You walk into this, you turn the shower on, you don't get drenched. And just what a great solution to move that into a better place. I think you could apply that in many cases. The dual shower head certainly has been very popular. Here's a couple of trends from Consumer Insights on countertops and secondary counters. So granite slab, they'll certainly pay for it. So $600 for granite, Corian, cultured marble. The secondary bathrooms, the numbers do drop a little bit, but still granite slab, they're willing to pay for it. So it's still pretty high up there. Bathrooms are just an area that consumers are willing to invest. Kitchens and bathrooms, the first things that consumers will remodel if they're going to stay in their existing home. It's also the first thing that will actually make them move as well. Another bathroom that I think is just, it's not a bad bathroom. It's just very simple and it feels crammed. And so if you look at this one, look at the treatment around the mirror. There's just some detail there that I think could have been better, that could have really made this bathroom terrific. And then this one, not much more expensive. Certainly those cabinets are more expensive, but you could use the same detail from the prior one, but just reassessing those mirrors a little bit, just a little decorative light sitting in between. Just really nice touches that were very thoughtful, I think really make a difference. This was a very affordably priced home in Northern California, probably the most affordable price point. But this builder was a custom builder that did this affordable home, and he just did some special touches that made a difference. I mean, this little corner tub with the beadboard sitting around it. Again, he did a little, some very nice touches on the mirrors. He left the ceiling height, so it made for some really cozy spaces throughout the home, but certainly for this bathtub. Very nice touch. He even let the shower sort of have its own form, but feel very large sitting here in the corner. This space, again, consumers hate that little cornered space, but in another home of that same builder, he just pulled it back a good 1.5 feet and let it be a towel a holder area, and it just really, this cabinet was a little bit smaller, but the whole space just felt so much better overall. A great bathroom by Pulte for Del Webb, just a neat little detail that they put in the middle and really showed it off. But this bathroom really functions well without overpowering it with a huge bathtub. So as I'm closing, a few trends to consider. Your target shoppers are likely boomers followed by Gen X first. Gen Y is getting there, but they are the smallest percentage today. The most important room in the home, it's a kitchen and great room followed by the master bath. So give them an experience they'll remember. They're looking for casual, modern, traditional, and organic styles. Hold on to those natural, earthy materials certainly are preferred by shoppers today. The more you can kind of connect that. Give them an experience and engage their senses at all price points. So whether that cappuccino maker, just something special that sets you apart, something really unique and different that they'll remember that they didn't otherwise think they could get. That's really engaging that core. So the things they can't explain they would pay for, but when they see it, it really will make a difference. And help them to make memories before they ever even move in. So when you walk into that Brookfield kitchen and you feel that indoor-outdoor space, you literally can see your family there, and it makes you excited, and it makes you, how do I make this home work for me? And design, in my opinion, really doesn't have to cost more. So those little sort of pop-outs around the mirrors, putting those little special light fixtures between the mirrors instead of on top. Little special touches like that really can make a difference. And consumers will buy form over function, so you don't have to give them more size. So right-sizing those tubs, putting those in the right locations, it really can make a difference as opposed to an average bathroom be a really exciting home that has a terrific bathroom as well. And remember, I really believe this in my core, it begins with your consumers first. So really get to know them, understand what they want, and we'll certainly help you understand what they'll also pay for as well. And then you can design from there. That's it for me. Thank you very much for listening to me. I'm going to turn it over to Fritz as well. And he is going to share with you a little bit about them.
Thanks, Molly. That was awesome. You've got some great feedback coming in and some great requests for your slide deck because there's some really cool pictures there. And I think you've certainly offered some great inspiration for our home builders on today's call. So thank you for sharing that with us. I want to be considerate of everyone's time, so we're going to quickly jump into the portion here from today's sponsor, which is GE. And no one protects the home and connects it to the future better than GE. With a forward-thinking tradition that spans over 100 years, today's GE appliances sync perfectly with the modern lifestyle. For the widest selection of products, the best service, and a name you can trust, look to GE. And Fritz, I'd like to now pass the presentation over to you.
Great. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Fritz O'Connor, and I'm the Value and Strategy Manager for our builder business at GE Appliances. And first, I want to thank Heather and the HomeSphere team for asking us to be a part of today's webinar. And certainly a special thanks to Molly for a really interesting and informative presentation. I'm certainly going to have to remodel both my kitchen and bathroom after looking at all those beautiful pictures. And I certainly hope we can build on what we just learned. So again, also in the interest of time, I'll go pretty quickly here, and you can certainly reach out to me post-presentation for any questions you might have. Can everybody see my presentation in presentation mode? I just want to make sure you're seeing that.
Everything looks great, Fritz.
Yes. Okay. So as we move on, look, I just want to start by briefly sharing what GE is doing to support the resurgence in American manufacturing. We're hiring across the country. We're building new factories. We're focusing on our veterans. We're giving back in our communities, and we're insourcing products. Here at Appliances alone, we're investing over $1 billion to generate 3,000 new jobs and focus on designing and building the best products that consumers want in the beautiful homes that you're building, and certainly is evidenced in what we just learned from Molly. We're dedicating millions of dollars a year and focusing on our research to understand what the consumer wants and who they are. To ensure that these insights make it to the market, we've doubled the size of our design team here at Appliances to make sure that these folks dedicate themselves to bringing out the products that will help you sell more homes. We've shifted our thinking from product categories based on home values towards products that complement different kitchen designs and consumer users. We've learned from Molly that home design, specifically better home design, is top of mind today's consumers looking to buy a new home. So in speaking with builders like yourselves, kitchen designers, and homeowners, we've learned that it's some of the current design trends out there that appliances are no longer a primary design element. They need to complement the kitchen design and enhance the overall design, not dominate it. So what we've learned is really influencing our new visual brand language that goes across all of our product lines. So let's take a closer look at 4 kitchen designs that we've identified here at GE that line up pretty well with the slightly more segmented style preference breakdown that Molly shared. They span from decorative to minimal and from traditional to contemporary. And at one end of the spectrum, in the upper left, is the traditional kitchen, and at the other end, in the lower right, is the minimal kitchen. Bridging the gap between these two styles are 2 transitional designs. So we'll take a quick walk through these designs right now. The traditional style kitchens, as we saw in the pictures from Molly and also in this picture, are rich and ornate and detailed. The appliances are still the focal point in these kitchens, specifically cooking appliances, as you can see here, make quite a statement and are typically the focus of the design element. We see in most of these high-end kitchens that refrigerators and dishwashers are often hidden behind panels that match the cabinets, as you can see with the refrigerator on the left side in this kitchen. So here's an example of a transitional kitchen that bridges from traditional to minimal. Primarily, we see clean lines in these kitchens, still having some crown molding and other details to soften hard edges. These kitchens are really identified by a mix of materials and finishes, like the different wood used in the island and the pronounced black backsplash seen here. And we also saw that in a number of the different kitchens that Molly shared with us. Appliances in these types of kitchens are a primary design element, but they're not the hero of the kitchen. In another form of a transitional kitchen that bridges from contemporary to minimal, we see a lot less trim, typically no molding, and a lean towards a minimal style. Fewer different materials are used, unlike the last transitional kitchen we saw, and the design focuses on clean lines. In these kitchens, appliances should complement the overall design, not be the focus of it. At the other end of the spectrum, as I said, is the minimal kitchen. Here we have hyper clean lines, no applied trim, and these appliances largely disappear. They're fully integrated into the kitchen. I'm not even sure where they are. Now, we've taken a walk through some of the different types of kitchen designs. It's important to understand what's most important to our homeowners. Well, there's no surprise, as we just learned, it's the kitchen. In fact, when one considers the importance of features in a new home, kitchen features hold 3 of the top 5 spots. Appliances are number 2, which aligns with the data Molly shared about top kitchen features. Cabinets number 3, and countertops number 5 in our research. So appliances are second only to flooring when it comes to the features that are most important to homeowners. So as you're designing and outfitting your kitchens, appliances should be top of mind. The kitchen and the appliances that go in them are certainly top of mind to the homeowner. I mentioned earlier that one of the focuses of our design efforts is directed towards consumer user types. This focus is really on the different types of cooks that are out there. Like with so many things, there's a continuum. In fact, some people are really passionate about cooking, and others are just better cooks. So it's really important to understand how these people operate and what makes them tick. We've categorized these different types of cooks into 4 groups, from high ability to low ability, and from low passion to high passion. The laborer in the upper left doesn't really like to cook, but when they have to, they're pretty good at it. The reluctant in the lower left doesn't like to cook and really isn't good at cooking. They're your local restaurant's best customer. And the enthusiast in the upper right loves to cook, and they're really good at it. And finally, the aspirer in the lower right isn't a great cook, but they're committed to becoming one. So let's take a closer look at 2 of these groups. Again, the enthusiast is an expert. They make up about 28% of the market. They need the kitchen and the appliances to complement their expertise, not get in the way of it. They want to cook multiple dishes at once, and they're all about quality over quantity, like the folks Molly discussed. The enthusiast is passionate about cooking. It may even be a hobby. They're confident in their ability to plate a beautiful meal, and they're not afraid to try new things. The aspirers want to be enthusiasts, and they're committed to becoming so. They represent about 27% of the market. These aspirers need their kitchens to enhance their skills. They want their appliances in their kitchen to help make up for some of their lack in current expertise. These are the people that are always seeking knowledge. They're committed to success, they're fully engaged in putting out a great meal, and they're passionate about improving their skills. Both these groups view the kitchen as a central point to the living experience in the home. Now that we've covered a bit about different styles of kitchens and different types of homeowners and cooks, I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes highlighting how our products complement who lives in your home. We've spent a lot of time developing appliance packages and they complement traditional to transitional to minimal kitchens that directly meet the needs of homeowners, whether they're enthusiasts or even reluctants. Our GE Advantage package highlights our leadership in cooking products. It's a great package for the Aspire move-up buyer and fits well into any transitional design. Our Profile Innovation package is all about cutting-edge modern design. It's feature-laden with great technology. It's an excellent package for a transitional kitchen and will help the Aspire successfully improve their culinary skills. Our Cafe Performance package focuses on convenience technology that's so important to the enthusiast. This package is for the family that loves to live and cook in their traditional or transitional kitchen. Our luxury package is aimed squarely at the enthusiast and aspire who demands the highest quality and timeless elegance. It delivers the unmatched performance the enthusiast demands and the technology the aspire requires to get their skills to the next level. The Monogram Professional Series beautifully complements any traditional kitchen, and the Monogram European Series blends elegantly into a minimally designed kitchen. I'll admit, this slide's a late ad. It's in response to a slide Molly shared with us. Our independent research indicates that GE is clearly the preferred brand across consumer segments. Whether you're building homes for the mass market or for the premium homeowner, the GE brand and our product lines are preferred by a wide margin to other appliance choices you and your homeowners have. So whether you're building a home with a transitional kitchen for a first-time young home buyer who's honing their culinary skills, or building a beautiful forever home with a traditional kitchen for an expert in the kitchen who has we have the appliance series that will perfectly complement the home and delight the homeowner. We're confident that 2014 will continue to be a great year for home building. For those of you who partner with GE today, we thank you for trusting us and helping us deliver beautiful homes. For those of you who don't yet partner with GE, we'll hope you'll give us every consideration. Of course, I'd be happy to talk with any of you about how to make this happen. Thanks again to HomeSphere and to Molly for including us in today's webinar.
Thank you, Fritz. I want to thank both Molly at John Burns Real Estate Consulting as well as Fritz at GE for their valuable information. We ran just a few minutes late today, so we do not have time for questions. I know several of you are looking for recorded versions of this webinar. We will load that at www.homesphere.com by tomorrow end of day. If you want to be the first alerted once made available, please remember to like HomeSphere on Facebook. Look forward to next quarter's webinar. It's going to be a green and sustainable theme that Molly is also going to present from John Burns Real Estate Consulting, and we're anxious to welcome our sponsors from our partners at Icynene. Thanks, everybody, and good day.